The Philippines is one of the world's mega-diverse countries, rich in natural resources and biological diversity. The very reason why agriculture, marine and aquatic, and natural resources are foreseen as key sectors in achieving sustainable and inclusive development in the country. With the right policies and programs in place, backed with appropriate technologies and innovations, attaining development is not far from reach. This is where the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic and Natural Resources Research and Development, or PCAARRD, takes its ground. PCAARRD was established in 2011 through the merging of two sectoral councils under the Department of Science and Technology: the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Forestry and Natural Resources Research and Development, and the Philippine Council for Aquatic and Marine Research and Development. Consolidating these two organizations into one apex council broadened its coverage, as well as provided a unified and holistic approach in addressing concerns in the agriculture, aquatic, and natural resources, or AANR sector. The Council aims to provide strategic leadership in promoting science and technology, or S&T, as a platform for AANR products innovation and environmental resiliency. Committed to sustaining dynamic leadership in S&T innovation in the AANR sector, PCAARRD formulates policies, plans, projects, and strategies for S&T development in the AANR sector. It programs and allocates government and external funds generated for research and development, or R&D efforts, as well as monitors R&D projects. It also generates external funds for R&D activities. PCAARRD carries out programs and advocacies according to 4 banner programs that embody its S&T interventions in the AANR sector. These are Strategic R&D, R&D Results Utilization, Policy Research and Advocacy, and Capability Building and R&D Governance. The Council builds partnerships with local and international organizations for joint R&D, training, technical assistance, and information and technology exchange. It also ties up with funding institutions to support its programs and advocacies. Through the years, PCAARRD has been a lead organization in managing the network of government and higher education institutions involved in the AANR sector. Guided by its core values of relevance, excellence, and cooperation, PCAARRD catalyzes development through advancing S&T in the AANR sector. It is steadfast in its commitment to its mandates for the betterment of the lives of every Filipino, now and in the generations to come.
The agriculture, aquatic, and natural resources, or AANR sector, are foreseen as major growth drivers to boost the Philippine economy. That is why funding for research and development in the AANR sector has steadily increased, paving the way to generate more inventions and innovations to boost productivity in the country's agri-aqua enterprises and industries. Unfortunately, these new technologies have not been fully transferred, utilized, and commercialized by their intended users. Filipinos, particularly farmers, fisher folks, and potential investors are largely unaware of these breakthroughs that could result to sustainable and inclusive development in the country. strengthening partnership with the private sector as well as intellectual property protection, and better coordination among concerned and allied agencies are also considered as important factors in achieving exponential growth in the AANR sector. With this, the Department of Science and Technology, through the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic and Natural Resources Research and Development, established the DOSTP-CAARRD Innovation and Technology Center, or DPITC. DPITC serves as a platform for technology transfer and commercialization. It is a one-stop shop convergence hub for investors and technology users in the AANR sector in the Philippines. Strategically located in the Los Banos Special Science and Nature City in Laguna, DPITC serves as a link for different stakeholders from the academe, private sector, NGOs, and international partner institutions to strengthen and forge new public-private partnerships for technology commercialization. DPITC's main thrust is to enhance the transfer and commercialization of AANR technologies. It has 4 service hubs. The Technology Business and Partnership Hub provides networking, strategic partnership, and technology business services. The Knowledge Management Hub houses the Internet Cafe and digital library services. The Science and Technology Promotion Hub showcases the technologies and innovations generated by R&D projects in the AANR sector. The Innovation Services Hub serves as a venue for capacity building initiatives, trainings, meetings, and conferences. With its state-of-the-art facilities and capable experts pool, DPITC takes the lead in ensuring that PCAARRD's technology portfolio will be properly evaluated, protected, and made available, thus enhancing the livelihood and business opportunities in the AANR sector for a more competitive, sustainable, and inclusive Philippine economy. Here at DPITC, we determine and assess the commercial potential of technologies for the AANR sector. We protect intellectual properties of R&D technologies. We increase client awareness through our knowledge management system, e-library, and strategic communication. We transfer technologies from market study to business plan to valuation and market matching, even providing transfer incentives. DPITC will be of assistance and support to various stakeholders in the AANR sector. And we capacitate stakeholders by conducting training and strengthening partnerships with different institutions, both in the public and private sectors, as well as international organizations. This is what we do in DPITC. We develop, we protect, we inform, we transfer, we facilitate commercialization. DPITC, bridging inventions to innovations.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of the Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic, and Natural Resources Research and Development of the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST-PCAARRD, and the organizers, I would like to thank all of you for being with us today in this virtual presser. I am J.N. Panganiban from the Crops Research Division, your host for this afternoon. I am sure that all of you are excited to learn many things about the different indigenous vegetables in the Philippines. And we are lucky to have an expert from the Institute of Crop Science, College of Agriculture and Food Science of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, who is very much eager to share her knowledge about the different indigenous vegetables that can be found and is being utilized in the country to each and every one of us. Before we started this virtual presser, we would like to recognize the participation of our media partners from the Philippine Daily Inquirer, Daily Tribune, Pimay News, DZEC Radio Aguila, Radio Pilipinas, and J101.5 FM Big Radio. Thank you for joining us in this virtual presser. As of now, we already have 700 registered participants from the different parts of the country. But before we start the presentation proper, I would like to call on Dr. Reynaldo V. Iborra, the Executive Director of DOST Picard, to welcome us in this activity.
A pleasant afternoon to all our participants. I would like to welcome all of you in today's virtual presser. This activity is part of DOST Picard's pre-anniversary offering, which showcases the outputs of some of our ongoing and completed projects. With the theme, Harnessing the Gains of Galing Picard Towards a More Resilient AANR Sector, we aim to inform the general public on significant research and development undertakings, practical technologies, and innovation developed through our partner implementing agencies in an effort to support and sustain resiliency in agriculture, aquatic, and natural resources sector. Today's virtual presser features the accomplishments of the recently completed project titled Documentation of Indigenous Vegetables in the Philippines. This project is very special as the idea came from our very own DOST Secretary, Fortunato T. de la Peña, as he emphasized the need for baseline information on the indigenous vegetables or katutubong gulay in the country. This with an end goal of promoting them to our local consumers. Through the project, the team of researchers from the Institute of Crop Science under the College of Agriculture and Food Science of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, has documented over 100 indigenous vegetables in 20 provinces around the country. They have also been actively engaged in information drives like exhibits, press releases, radio and TV interviews, and participation to online events to promote the significant outputs of the project. Later, we will also see featured indigenous vegetables as we formally launch 10 publications produced by the project team. This initiative is under the DOST Picard's Industry Strategic S&T Program, or ISP, for vegetables, and its outputs are expected to contribute to the realization of one of its goals, which is to increase consumption of healthy and safe vegetables. Ultimately, this project is geared toward further strengthening the R&D initiatives on indigenous vegetables. Currently, we have an ongoing R&D project which aims to analyze the nutritional content of select indigenous vegetables. In this virtual presser, we wanted to highlight the word rediscover to emphasize the need to promote the utilization of our katutubong gulay in various regions of the Philippines. We wanted to highlight the rediscovery of what is already there. We hope that through this activity, the wonder and appreciation of the Filipinos to indigenous vegetables will be ignited. Needless to say, I hope that this forum will serve as a good venue for us to know more about our katutubong gulay. I also hope that through this presser, our media partners will help us in promoting the production and consumption of indigenous vegetables. Thank you, and may you find interest in our indigenous vegetables in the Philippines, one vegetable at a time. Magandang hapon at mabuhay tayo lahat.
Thank you, Dr. Ibora, for that warm welcome and for providing us the rationale of this virtual presser. I hope that you are all as excited to know more about the indigenous vegetables in the Philippines or katutubong gulay ng Pilipinas. Before I introduce our speaker, I would like to inform everyone that you may leave your questions or comments in the comment section in this FB Live post. Pakilagay lamang po sa ang institusyon sila nabibilang bago ang inyong mga katanungan o komento. Our resource speaker would be more than willing to answer your questions later. We are also encouraging our participants to give access to StreamYard by clicking on the link on the description box so we can see and show your name during the live broadcast and during the Q&A portion. Also, our open forum will be done after the presentation of the speaker. Now moving on, our speaker is one of the researchers in UPLB. She graduated in the Visayas State College of Agriculture, now known as the Visayas State University, for her bachelor's degree in agricultural engineering in 1990 and pursued her master's degree in agricultural economics minor in agricultural extension in 1999, also in VSU, and finished her PhD in agricultural economics focused on policy and development in 2009 in UPLB. Her research interests focus mainly on plant genetic resources conservation and use, value chain innovations, sustainable household livelihood, participatory impact monitoring, and participatory research and gender analysis. She is currently the project leader of the ongoing R&D project titled Nutritional Analysis of Selected Indigenous Vegetables in the Philippines. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to give you our speaker, Dr. Lorna E. Sister.
Magandang hapon, Sir JN. Magandang hapon din sa lahat.
Hi, Ma'am Lawrence. Nandiyan na po kayo. Good afternoon po.
Good afternoon. Magandang
Hi,
hapon sa
hi
lahat.
Ma'am.
Nandito na po.
Kumusta? Kumusta po? Kumusta, Ma'am?
Maayos naman. Online at remote tayo lagi. Kaya pinagdadasal ko na hindi kumidlat para magkakasama pa tayo ng matagal-tagal dito sa presser na ito.
Sige, Ma'am. Ma'am, matanong ko lang, ano po ba ang pinagkaiba ng katutubong gulay sa conventional na gulay na usually na kinakain nating mga Pilipino?
Okay. Ito po kasi yung catch dito. Okay, let's go to katutubo or indigenous. So, kaya po siya indigenous. They actually probably una, they originated at saka they grow naturally in that environment. Kung hindi man siya nag-originate doon, these plants have developed their distinctive traits in these areas. Ang tagal na nila doon. Like for example, our corn, hindi siya originating from the Philippines, pero ang tagal na niya, yung ating mga corn varieties, traditional varieties, have developed distinctive traits. Kaya lang po, si conventional vegetable, ito po yung normal nating kinakain. Unfortunately, yun na nga yung dichotomy, hindi po nagiging conventional ang ating indigenous vegetables. At least some of them, hindi sila nagiging, or many of them, hindi nagiging conventional kasi hindi na nga po siya naging mainstream in our food culture. Sana maging conventional na rin sila.
Sige, Ma'am Lorna, hindi ko na po patatagalin at alam ko na sobrang excited na yung mga kasamahan natin or nanonood sa atin ngayon. Take it away, Dr. Lorna.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to share more of what at least 75 communities across the Philippines have shared with us on indigenous vegetables in our country, with the final 10 pamphlets produced by the project that literally sent us on a journey of rediscovering the Philippines one vegetable at a time.
The Philippines is considered a wonder for its high diversity of plants. It is also rich in indigenous vegetables that are just waiting to be rediscovered. A team from the university went to 20 provinces across the country, a journey of rediscovery of Philippine indigenous vegetables. Underutilized and even slowly forgotten, these vegetables have nourished generations of Filipinos, a low-cost, readily available source of vitamins, micronutrients, antioxidants, and fiber. The team conducted focus group discussions. Community members made lists of indigenous vegetables in their villages, the parts used in different dishes, their seasonality and other uses, as well as their marketability and accessibility. They also made resource maps that showed the lay of the land and the kinds of environments that these local food plants thrive in. They also found clues on the reasons for the slow disappearance of many indigenous vegetables. 145 indigenous vegetables were rediscovered. Here are a few of them.
The popular leafy vegetables are very rich in vitamins A and C, as well as iron and calcium. Mostly gathered, they require from little or no maintenance but provide highly nutritious food practically free. Saluyot or jute is a high-fiber vegetable that becomes slimy when cooked. The most popular dish is jute leaves mixed with bamboo shoots and fish paste and may be cooked in coconut milk. Kalinum is a well-known low-maintenance ornamental, but it is also a good pot herb for fish soup dish. Alugbati or Malabar spinach is culturally associated with the Visaya group in central and southern Philippines. It has green and purple variants. You can blanch or cook it with other vegetables like the Visayan dish, lauoy. Flowers can also be vegetables. The hummingbird tree's flowers can be white, pink, and red, but white is most commonly eaten. Do not forget to remove the partly detached anther before cooking, because it is bitter according to the women of the north. Himbabao tree can reach up to 10 feet high. The catkin is the cluster of tiny flowers that look like pale green worms, hanging from tree branches when male and round when female. The male catkin is more popular and is a distinctive ingredient in the northern versions of the popular dishes pinakbet and dinengdeng. Cacahuate is commonly used as hedge, trellis, or fence in the Philippines. The unopened flowers are popular vegetables in northern and central Philippines. Telosma population is diminishing because the flowers and immature fruits are gathered and consumed as vegetable before it can produce mature seeds. You can find it in forest margins in the northern Philippines. An initiative spearheaded by MMSU in collaboration with the UP Los Banos seeks to domesticate, propagate, and multiply this plant to save it from possible extinction. Labong is the fleshy core or pith of a bamboo shoot, which, along with jute leaves, is cooked with coconut cream and seasoned with fish paste. Fruits can also be vegetables, like rimas or breadfruit, and kamansi or breadnut, which are relatives of the highly popular jackfruit. Cook an immature jackfruit, breadfruit, or breadnut in coconut milk with optional dried fish. Karate is a very bitter fruit that is a relative of the eggplant, but tastes like bitter gourd. Boiled, broiled, fried, or mixed with other vegetables in a soup dish, the bitter eggplant is popular among some indigenous groups in the northern and southern Philippines. Legumes are high-protein vegetables. This means meat is not the only source of protein. This is very good to know because eating too much meat is bad for our body's health and for the health of the environment. Majority of traditional legumes are short-day plants, meaning they can only be grown at the time of the year when day length is shorter. In the Philippines, legumes are abundant from December to April. Legumes are mostly eaten as fresh pods, fresh seeds or dried seeds. Dry seeds make them available for our kitchens year-round. Young pods and even vine tips or leaf shoots are also sometimes eaten. Fond of garlic? Well, bawang gulay or garlic greens is the whole garlic plant before the bulb matures. At 45-day-old, whole plants are sautéed and shriveled along squeezed tomatoes and seasoned with fish paste. Malunggay, the power vegetable. The leaves, flowers, and green pods are consumed as vegetables. The squash fruit is indeed a vegetable, and so are its flowers. Female flowers with or without small immature fruits are eaten, but others prefer them to grow into full-grown fruits. Rich in beta-carotene, squash is good for our eyes. And there's 100 more that we rediscovered from the rich diversity of food plants and food culture. Each vegetable with its own distinct flavor, nutritional benefits, sociocultural value, and livelihood contributions.
We can all do something. Let's work to conserve our indigenous vegetables and share what we know. Indigenous vegetables are just there, waiting to be rediscovered and nurtured. Hey guys, let's eat our vegetables.
Good afternoon to everyone. Nakita natin sa video kung ano ang mga ginawa namin sa project at mga nangyari bago namin nabuo ang mga produkto katulad ng mga pamphlets na ipapakita natin mamaya. So inabot na po ng pag-retire nitong dalawang mga patikan na mga plant genetic resources experts, si Prof. Borromeo and Altaveras. Batuloy pa rin ang pagre-rediscover ng Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng ating katutubong gulay. So let me just continue. Yung field survey was done across 20 provinces across the country. We went to 40 municipalities, and each municipality we had about 2 villages na kinakain pa at ginagamit ng ating mga katutubong gulay. There was collection of literature. There were already efforts of documentation, just like this book by Menisa Antonio of Mariano Marcos State University, The Catalog of Indigenous Food Plants in Ilocos Norte. Alam naman natin lahat na mahilig talagang kumain ng gulay, lalo ng mga katutubong gulay ang ating mga kababayan sa Norte. And we found also efforts at documentation sa Batanes, sa DARFU, and also in Mindoro, and there are already studies on indigenous vegetables. So lahat ito ay pumupunta sa isang database, isang simpleng database na searchable. Hopefully, itong mga nakuhang mga information which communities all over the country willingly shared with us, madali ring makalkal or madali ring makuha ng ating mga kababayan para naman magamit din itong mga kaalaman na ito. So yung pamphlets 1 to 10 were already launched and are actually, naubos na po yata yung mga print copies, but e-copies are still available, and we have a request link for them. And then para naman hindi sayang, since we have already produced the last 10, and I'm going to show them to you in a while. So among the several things we did by way of promoting our katutubong gulay, we committed to produce 20 pamphlets. Lumabas na po yung first 10, so I will show you in a little while the last 10. The first one is Lagikway. That's pamphlet number 1. Example in Quezon. kung malunggay daw ang para sa karamihan sa atin, ito po daw na lagikway ang malunggay sa kanila. Okay, the second one, pamphlet number 2 was talbos ng kamoteng kahoy. Probably some of you are very fond of cassava, but this one is the talbos. And then pamphlet number 3 was about the most popular vegetable all over the Philippines, gabi. All the parts of gabi are used as vegetable. Ang bawang po sa ating pagkakaalam ay spice, but actually at about 35 days old, pwede po siyang i-harvest ng mga farmers at yan po ay bawang gulay. It's the whole plant that's eaten as a vegetable. And then the next pamphlet that came out was the himbabao. Medyo nawawala na rin ang puno na ito, but we found a lot of really big trees in South Cotabato, lalo na sa UP. So, ito pong himbabao pag nasa dinengdeng, Ilocano po ang ating dinengdeng. Yung talbos ng ampalaya, nilalagay natin sa munggo. Sabi nila, mas masarap daw talaga ang sa ampalayang ligaw na talbos. Lubi-lubi yung isa po sa mga pamphlet na inilabas natin, napaka-popular po sa Camarines Sur. At ito po ay kadalasan ginagataan. Ang kasunod ay ang pako. It grows under usually coconut, near forest margins, saan po matubig at malamig. Ang talinom, nakikita namin siya usually nasa mga flower boxes ng mga elementary school. So it can liven up your garden, at the same time, it can also liven up a fish stew. Ang lasa ng gulay naman ay yung shallots natin or multiplier onions. Hindi rin po siya pinapamature katulad ng bawang, and the whole plant can be cooked as a vegetable. So this is the final set, pamphlets 11 to 20, that we are going to share with you today. So, okay. So number 11 would be yung pamilyang Artocarpus. So at the forefront is langka, but kapamilya din niya ang kamansi, which is breadnut, rimas or breadfruit, then we know marang, and then chipoho. If colocasia is number 1, number 2 po itong mga Artocarpus vegetables. So there you can see, yung langka po, ang laki-laki niya. Katabi niya ay kamansi. Matulis po yung kanyang mga spines, very spiny. And beside it, almost similar in size, is the breadfruit. Yan po ay unseeded naman or rarely seeded. Para po siyang basketball. Medyo smooth po yung kanyang surface. So, the pamphlet deals with those fruit vegetables, pero meron kaming nakita before sa Batanes, and we thought that we would really be remiss in our duties kung hindi namin po siya isasama. So, ito po ang chipuho na fruit vegetable ng Batanes. Siya po ay kapamilya din ng langka at Artocarpus din po siya. So, if you ever visit Batanes like May and June, it's fruiting. And ito pong lahat ng mga gulay na ito. So, makikita nyo dito, the jackfruit, the kamansi, the rimas, marang, and the chipoho. Dito sa likod ang chipoho, tumawid na sa kabilang page. So, sila pong lahat ay ginugulay ng hindi pa masyadong hinog. Hindi ginagataan po. Pero pwede rin ginigisa. So, we have short features for each of the species. And then we have one recipe for humbang nangka, and this one is a recipe from Bohol, yes, from the Visayas. And then a short feature of the chipoho, hopefully to spark interest in this vegetable, in this fruit vegetable, and hopefully we can help also conserve it. Ang kanyang mga dahon ay ginagamit po na parang plato sa Batanes. So, ayan po, pag pupunta kayo ng kasalan, fiesta, yan po ang plato doon. But the fruit is really good as a vegetable. So, number 12 is the ubod. Sabi ng mga Amerikano, palm cabbage, and we also call them hearts of palm. Sa atin, ang pinakasikat ay ang ubod ng niyog, ang core of the coconut shoot. But then, there are also many other palms na edible po ang kanilang heart, or ang kanilang palm cabbage. Pamphlet number 12 does not only deal with ubod ng niyog. So marami po palang palms na edible ang kanilang palm cabbage. So we have the ubod ng nyog, ubod ng anahaw, ubod ng takipan, ubod ng kaong, ubod ng buri or buli, ubod ng sagisi, ubod ng uway or ratan, at saka ubod ng anibong. Fini-feature natin, may mga short features tayo tungkol sa bawat palm. Okay. So number 13 is ubod at puso ng saging. Now, the puso ng saging, masyado na siyang nag-mainstream. Ito, from the traditional kinilaw to homemade burgers, veggie burgers. Ang kinilaw po, ginataan lalo na sa mga Bisaya. Napakasarap po. So, itong ubod ng saging naman, they would say that this is for, feeding swine. Pero may mga lugar po na kinakain po siya. So, we have these features. Okay. And then, we have a recipe here. Dinakdakang puso ng saging. Pasilip natin yung loob ng ating pamphlet. At syempre po, I should not fail to mention, we have included information on the nutritional, but ito po ay information that comes from the DOST Food and Nutrition Research Institute. Meron po silang website kung saan makikita natin yung Philippine Food Composition Tables, and that is our main reference for the nutritional analysis of these vegetables. Okay, number 14 is bamboo shoot. This is the one that's classically ginagataan with saluyot. Okay, so ito yung mga ating posibleng pwedeng maging recipe ng ating labong. And again, we have the DOST FNRI nutritional analysis, nutritional composition from the Philippine Food Composition Tables. Number 15 is mahal na mahal ng ating mga kababayang Bisaya, ang alugbati. So alugbati is so well loved by the Bisaya, but we learned that in other places, even up in the north, marami pong nagpapatronize ng alugbati. So may green po siya ng variety, marami po siyang variant, but all of them are Basilia alba. So in preparing alugbati, I would say ang pinaka maganda po na preparation ay yung kahawig ng dinengdeng. Sa Bisaya po ay lauoy. So that is a very good preparation that is a very good dish for alugbati. So nakikita po natin isang bowl ng napakainit na lauoy with alugbati. Number 16 would be our flower vegetables. We have malunggay, katuray, kalabasa, kapas-kapas, and kakawate. And then bulaklak ng kapas-kapas. Ito po yung talagang becoming rare. And then there are short features again for each of the vegetables like kakawate before the flowers open fully. Ngayon si katuray, napakarami po sa north, nakikita natin sa mga palengke. At itong bulaklak ng kalabasa po, pag naabutan natin ang delivery sa mga palengke, napakaganda po. Number 17 is the tapilan. This is a traditional legume, but the local communities say na mas masarap po siya talaga. Okay, that is how it looks. And because it is, we have a recipe here, and since it is a legume, it does not only help feed the people, it also feeds the soil, it regenerates the soil because it's a legume. So medyo maiksi po ito, but hopefully it will be an interesting read. So number 18, finally, we come to the weedy vegetables. So ito nakakatuwa kasi po, ang dami pala nating mga parang mga damo-damo lang, weeds, but nakakain din pala. In fact, valued by many communities. And I think we can learn something from them talaga. Nahirapan kami dito kasi ang dami po nila. So for this pamphlet, we featured sapsapon, pansit-pansitan, kamantulan, olasiman, lagiwe, and erwat. So erwad, pwede din po siyang tawagin sa ibang lugar na erwan, and then, or anwad. They grow, napaka-common lang niya. May bright yellow flowers, and I'm sure you have come across them. Beggar ticks for Bidens pilosa. At ito naman, medyo mapait. At every time I show this, people would say, oh, nakakain po ba yun? So, sapsapon is a very common weed. We have short features again for each of the vegetables. So, makikita nyo dito, talagang damuhan lang makikita mo. We have the olasiman na ginagamit din siyang ornamental, pero nakakain din pala siya. And then there is another medyo mapait at medyo may amoy na gulay na lumalabas po siya kapag wala ng rice in the rice fields. There's the lagiway in Abra, which is medyo kapamilya po or baka same doon po sa yayod ng Batanes. So number 19, meron na po tayong power vegetable ulit. Ito po yung ating mga amaranths. So for the genus Amaranthus, ito po yung mga kulitis natin or tinatawag na kalunay. But meron din palang ibang genus, yung Alternantera or lupo ang kung tawagin. Napaka-common po siya sa Western Visayas. So here we have three groups but not necessarily 3 species. Kasi po ang ating Amaranthus, meron tayong kadunay or kulitis na may tinik, which is said to be more delicious kapag seedlings po ang kakainin. At merong kulitis na walang tinik. Lupo or Alternantera can be red or green. May dalawa po siyang variants. Ito namang ating mga kulitis, kalunay, ito po yung Amaranthus. Finally, and we are happy to be able to have produced this pamphlet. From our information, from our communities, we have learned that meron silang minimension na 4. So 4 po na species na pumapasok dito sa ating pamphlet on vegetables for nursing mothers. So meron pong malunggay, meron tayong papaya na medyo sikat po itong dalawang ito na pampagatas. But nalaman namin na meron din silang minimension na pampagatas din daw ang buko at saka ubod ng pugahan or fishtail palm. So, basahin na lang natin kung ano po ang mga kwento nitong dalawang ito. Pero sa aming mga pag-uusap po with the nanay volunteers and the very energetic nanays of Latch, Los Banos, and then the UPLB Gender Center, we learned na any vegetables, lalo na fresh po, will really go a long way towards helping our mothers get the nutrition they need. No, they need more to nourish their growing child. And the first 100 days is crucial. So kailangan po nila yung pagkain na tutugon sa pangangailangan. Hindi lang naman ng nanay, kundi yung bata din. So, this is an interesting start for us. This is the last pamphlet, but actually it became a start because umpisa po siya ng usapang pagpo-produce ng mga ganitong mga pamphlet para po sa pagpapalaganap to promote our indigenous vegetables. And now we're looking at campaigning for vegetables for our breastfeeding mothers. Not very specific vegetables, but dishes na ginagamit po itong indigenous vegetables natin. Hindi naman kailangang bumili ng or gumastos ng napakalaki. Kasi nasa palipaligid lang natin. Malunggay, then we have papaya, the buko, and the ubod ng pugahan. All their stories are here. And there's a sample recipe, masabaw, as we usually assume na kailangan ng mga nanay ng masabaw, but hindi naman po laging kailangan masabaw. And then, there's the nutritional analysis, including also the additional needs for breastfeeding mothers. So why are some of our indigenous vegetables vanishing? Isa na dyan yung paggamit natin ng mga herbicides. Patay po lahat ng mga halaman. So marami din po tayong mga katutubong gulay na napapalitan na ng mga sinasabi natin more profitable and market-oriented crops. So sa pandemyang ito, ano ba nangyari sa atin? Hindi makagalaw yung produkto. Kaso, hindi natin kilala yung mga gulay or mga halaman sa paligid natin na makakain pala. So, sayang po, they are very low input, hiyang sa ating paligid. Ganun po ang ugali po ng indigenous vegetables. They have evolved in our locality and they are very, very well adapted to our conditions. So, infrastructure and conversion to residential areas. Hindi lang po nawala physically yung kanilang growing environment, but ang nangyayari po, nababago din po yung klima. So, nag-iiba po talaga yung kondisyon, kaya nawawala po sila. Pollution of rivers, creeks, and even the land, at it goes without saying, na talaga pong pahirapan ng mga halaman na matatamaan ng mga polluted na mga environments. And then finally, the aggressive introduction of high-yielding varieties by seed companies with support by local government units. Hindi naman po masama. Kailangan din po nating alamin to what extent we can promote these high-yielding varieties because these high-yielding varieties also demand a high level of management. Magkadikit po ito, changes in taste and preferences. We have grown to love so much the fast food chains, the processed foods. But we are forgetting na itong indigenous vegetables, they might hold the key to our survival. So ang ating mga katutubong gulay, nasa paligid lang, nasa ating mga home gardens, konting patch of land, we can grow food. Meron ka ng pangsigang na talong. Ang ating mga katutubong mga kapatid ay may pagkain kahit nasa bundok sila. May hanap buhay din sila na matatawag. Etong mga bago siguro, ila-lunch pa yan ni Kuya. So, sabi nga, hey guys, let's rediscover and eat our vegetables. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lorna. Sigurado po ako na madaming natutunan ang ating mga viewers sa presentation ninyo. Marami na nga po ang lumalabas na katanungan sa ating comment section at gayon din ay maraming humahanga sa inyo sa matiyagan yung pagdodokumento ng mga katutubong gulay sa iba't ibang rehiyon ng Pilipinas upang maibahagi ninyo ang impormasyong inyong nakalap sa ating mga kababayan dahil sa ang mga ito ay mga natural na yaman ng bansa. Thank you again, Dr. Lorna. I'm sure our attendees are now excited for the Q&A portion. But before that, let me give you some reminders. Before the end of this virtual presser, we will be flashing the link to our Customer Satisfaction Feedback Form or CSF. All participants who accomplish the CSF will be issued with an e-certificate. Only those who submitted their CSF will be given the certificate, so please make sure to accomplish our CSF form after this virtual presser. The link will also be posted in the comment section later. In accomplishing the CSF, kindly make sure that you input correctly your complete name as you would want them indicated in the certificate. Likewise, please make sure that you input your email address correctly as we will be sending out your e-certificate via your registered email. Once again, you may leave your questions or comments in the comment section in this FB Live post. Just write your affiliation before posting your question. We will be choosing some questions that will be asked to our speaker later, since we cannot attend to all of your questions at this time. Again, the link will be posted later and after the closing program. Now, let us set the ball rolling. The floor is now open for your questions. For sure, excited na din si Ma'am Lorna na sagutin yung mga questions ninyo. Ma'am Lawrence, nandiyan na po ba kayo?
Eto na. Ready na. Hi, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Sir
Yes,
JN?
ma'am. Opo. Kayo
Ayun,
po,
okay.
rinig niyo po ba ako? Am I loud and clear?
Yeah, very loud and very clear.
Ayan, sige. Sige,
Sige
ma'am.
po.
Our first question po is from Mr. Nolly C. Liwanag ng PMI News, Diario Pilipinas. Ang tanong po niya ay, what are the advantages of indigenous vegetables?
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Nolly. Napakarami po, alam ko na naiisip mo na rin yan kung anong advantages. So, let's tick some boxes here. Unang-una po, low cost po talaga sila. Kasi yun nga, dahil sa kanyang pagiging indigenous, nandito lang siya sa paligid, very growing naturally, or kung itataniman natin, madali po siyang tumubo kasi hiyang na po siya sa ating environment, sa ating klima. So they are readily available and very nutritious. So dahil hiyang siya sa ating kapaligiran, hindi na kailangan ng chemicals kung tutuusin, no? And then very low management. In fact, most of the indigenous vegetables that we documented are just foraged. No, hindi na po sila tinatanim. Marami kaming kwento ng normally fino-forage, ginagather lang, pero tinatanim na rin in effort. I'll just mention yung pako. Ginagather po siya talaga. May mga kwento pa dyan na bago na uuwi yung mga bata galing sa school, pag medyo napatagal ng uwi, naglalaro, magdadala daw sila ng pako para hindi mapalo. So, yun, meron din yung Nasturtium officinale, watercress dun sa Nueva Vizcaya. So, itong dalawa, ini-mention ko kasi yung mga tao, dahil may demand na po talaga din, they have exerted effort na nire-replant na nila, hindi sila umaasa sa gathering and foraging. Yung case ng watercress, yan po ay dahil binabaha po ng river yung area kung saan siya natubo naturally. So ang ginagawa nila, they rescue yung mga seedlings. Lalagay nila sa isang plot para safe siya. Then after the baha, they plant it back. Ang pako naman, tinatanim nila, sadyang tinatanim na talaga, hindi lang inaasa sa pag-gather sa ilalim ng mga nyugan kung saan po medyo basa at malamig po. So yun, very low management. Yun nga lang because there's a market demand for it. So they have invested na rin, inaral nila kung paano mas mapadami at maaalagaan yung mga planting materials. Hindi lang sila ma-wash out kada pagbaha ng river nila. So they are, I would like to highlight and in closing, they are again adapted to the local environment. So ibig sabihin, they are in a continuing process of evolution resulting in adaptation sa ating lugar at sa kung ano man yung specific na area in the Philippines sila naturally nag-grow. Medyo magulo pala yun. Sana nakakuha mo. Sir Nolly, thank you very much for your question.
Thank you, Sir Nolly, and thank you for answering that question, Dr. Lorna. Our next question is from Miss Annabel D. Surara of DZEC Radio Aguila. Ang tanong po niya, ma'am, ay kindly enumerate vegetables in the Philippines that are not so familiar to many but are being sold in the market.
Talagang pinapa-enumerate ni Ma'am Annabel. Thank you, Ma'am Annabel. Oo nga medyo very challenging yung question. Okay, I will say na yun, pag nagtuturista ka sa Pilipinas, marami po tayong mga gulay. Very interesting ang ating local markets because you will find there mga kakaibang mga kinakain din ng mga tao doon. So it's actually a reflection of the food culture din ng lugar. So if you go to Iloilo, pinakita ko kanina sa ating slide yung napakaraming itsura ng iba't ibang parte ng gabi. So I'll mention a few na they're found in markets pero hindi po siya masyadong pamilyar. So I run the risk of there might be many people in our audience na familiar sa kanila itong mga sasabihin ko. So up north, ang kilala nating ferns ay yung pako. No, the very popular, isa din yan sa all over the Philippines, kinakain pala yung pako. But up north, you will find kakaiba pong mga tipo ng ferns din. May mga matataba na medyo slimy, the sarabat. May isa pa, yung parang pako siya na mapula. I'm forgetting the local name. So yun po yung mga ferns. And then, familiar ito sa mga taga Luzon but not familiar din sa mga ibang parte ng Pilipinas like Visayas. Itong pods ng labanos, na makikita mo rin yan sa norte. Pag dito naman sa Iloilo or the Western Visayas area, mga tumpok-tumpok po ng mga gulay na katutubo siya, but because there's a local food culture that has created this demand for this, makakita ka ng tumpok-tumpok na seedlings ng kulitis or yung amaranth. Tapos yung kamantulan po, yung kaninang pinakita, medyo may amoy po siya. Yun pala it's a pot herb, nilalagay sa ginisang munggo, for example, but you have to use the leaves na bata pa, and also at the stage of the plant na hindi pa namulaklak kasi medyo titindi na ang amoy noon. What else? Nasa market, marami po kasi naiisip ko yung mga nasa palengke na you really be in awe na ang dami pala nating mga pagkain or mga gulay na hindi natin kilala, but it's good to know that they are in market. So ibig sabihin po may livelihood din yun. So dadagdagan ko pa yun, pinapa-enumerate ni Ma'am Annabel eh. Okay, sa mga ubod, very common na even in Manila yung ubod ng nyog and everywhere else in the Philippines, at saka yung labong. But in provincial, like for example, in Quezon, sa Lopez for example, nakikita namin yung iba't ibang klase ng ubod na binibenta. Ubod ng isang special na saging, yung PCAARRD, meron daw demand from Manila for kare-kare. Yun daw talaga ang pinaka preferred na ubod ng saging, hindi basta-basta lang. Okay, so parang nirarak ko yung ko sa dami ng mga nasa palengke natin pag then the legumes. Okay, the tapilan, I'm not sure how common it is kasi nakakita lang ako ng marami dito sa Dumaguete. Actually Siquijor, and it came from Dumaguete. At saka sa Bohol. Kasi sa ibang lugar, it's a forage crop, pinapakain sa mga hayop. But ating mga katutubong mga kapatid ay they keep the seed because it's part of the food culture. And also, in the uplands, hardy po kasi siya. So if you don't find tapilan in the market, sa Batangas pala maraming tapilan. It's part of the Batangueño food culture yata. One of the project experts, si Professor Borromeo, is a Batangueña. So she's an advocate of the tapilan. Sinusulong talaga yan na wag mawala ang tapilan natin. So, yun, I think those are a few. Baka po maabutin tayo ng gabi. Parang gusto ko na hugutin ng aming inventory at isa-isahin ko yung nasa market na Magugulat ka na lang din kung ano yung makikita mo sa market na ino-offer in our local markets, the wet markets. Thank you very much, Ma'am Annabel. You can communicate with me actually or ask the project team. Marami pong experts dun sa aming project team. Hindi ako ang expert. Kaya kami feeling expert kasi maraming expert and going to the communities. Ang haba ng kwento ko. Pagpunta mo sa communities at ang dami mong maririnig na information, expert na rin po kami paglabas namin ng community. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your very informative answer, Dr. Lorna, sa tanong ni Miss Annabel. So, ang sunod po nating katanungan ay from Miss Christine May Obilio. Ma'am, siya po ay isa sa mga nanonood sa ating Facebook Live post. At ang tanong po niya ay, may mga kasunod pa po bang pamphlets ng indigenous vegetables pagkatapos po nito?
Yes. At actually, yun yung nag-umpisa pa lang kami, nag-iisip na kami na 20 lang ba? Kasi medyo ini-expect na namin na marami. And we have not even gone to iba pang mga agro-ecosystem or iba pang ecosystems, like for example, the coastal. So sa ngayon po, we have committed to 20 and we did our best to cover more than 20 species dito. And as I've mentioned earlier, meron po kaming ongoing effort with the UPLB Gender Center at saka itong non-profit organization na Latch Los Banos. Sorry po, nakalimutan ko ang meaning ng Latch. But these are advocates of breastfeeding. So we collaborated on pamphlet number 20. And we're hoping na this year makapaglabas ng the first based on our inventory, itong data na nakuha namin from the communities about the vegetables. 4 nga lang yun, but from our discussions nga, hindi pala, sorry, I will expound on this. Hindi pala nakakabit sa isang halaman or gulay ang pagkakaroon ng gatas, no? What's crucial is for the mother to have the proper nourishment, no? Meron tayo sa DOST FNRI ng requirements, additional requirements for breastfeeding mothers. So ang mangyayari doon, we are going to cover recipes ang gagawin namin para madaming gulay and the information is directly usable. They can test the recipe, test with alternate na mga gulay din. And the interesting part of this, since we collaborated also with the nutrition, with Ma'am, dito sa UPLB, yung sa mga nutritionist na isa, sa College of Human Ecology, I would like to make special mention of her also. Si Ma'am Christine. Sorry, hari ang video na pasero. Registered dietitian. Okay. So, ang ginawa namin, hindi na lang po nutritional information about the gulay, in-effort po niyang mag-compute talaga nung isang dish, no? How far does it go in terms of meeting the requirements, the daily requirements for specific vitamins and minerals. So yun po yung kaibahan doon. We look at a dish, we talk about the vegetables also, and then we have the nutritional analysis or computation of nutritional value of that dish. So yun po yung definitely isa sa mga to look forward to. Hindi lang po siya siguro madami. So it's challenging if it's printed kasi medyo mahal talaga. But we are hoping if with or without project funding na kahit po electronic lang, pwede namin gawin on our time na ma-package din natin itong mga information na nakuha natin. And of course, we have the database. Kahit hindi po siya pamphlet, once it becomes live, everyone can get access to information na nakalap din namin. And by this also, I would like to invite everyone. Yung sa Facebook page po natin na Ang Gulay Bao, we have shared bits of the information we gathered. But also it is a platform for everyone else to come and share their knowledge and their experience because we are not the owners of that knowledge, diba? So we actually created that platform to start a discussion and for people who want to know and also for others who would like to share. So doon po talaga naumpisahan na yung mga diskusyon ng mga eksperto sa mga gulay na ito. And then we can enhance pa more what we have. And in the future, we might continue to produce these popularized pamphlets on our Philippine indigenous vegetables. Open kami for volunteers. Thank you very much for that question also, Ma'am Christine.
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna, for that answer. I hope na enlighten yung nagtanong sa inyo kanina. An additional question po. So our next question is from one of our media partners. And she is a content producer of the Manila Bulletin. She is Miss Charissa Lucy Atienza. Ang tanong po niya, sa tingin ko, very timely ito ngayong panahon ng pandemya, Ma'am Lorna. Ang tanong po niya ay, any indigenous vegetables that can lessen COVID symptoms or be used against COVID?
Okay. Thank you, Ma'am Charissa. Very challenging question. Pero totoo po, yun po kasi ang talagang nasa sa ating mga isip ngayon. We actually had reflections on COVID din while we were processing the data kasi towards the end na po ng project, nangyari itong ating COVID. So unang-una, what can lessen COVID symptoms and can be used against COVID. I cannot make definite claims kasi syempre hindi na po siya sakop na project namin. But definitely we are saying that, di ba, you have to enhance the body's capacity to fight back. We all should stay healthy. Boost your immune system, laging sinasabi. Ngayon nagkakaubusan tayo ng vitamin C sa mga butika. And when we got to this computation nga of what is required every day in terms of these vitamins and minerals, napakataas po pala talaga ng ating vitamin C from our leafy vegetables like the malunggay. So if we have this mix in a dish, no, na hindi sila masyadong na nag-degenerate yung ating mga gulay, on a regular basis, what are we doing? We are actually strengthening our immune system. No? And vegetables are regulators of body processes. So malaking tulong po 'yan, no? Because our diets should be that na tinutulungan yung katawan natin na i-flush out yung mga pangit and then to add to whatever is mga fine-tuning po ang ginagawa ng vegetables sa ating katawan. So probably I cannot make a claim on what can lessen COVID symptoms, but I would really encourage everyone, kahit ako po, kami dito, nagkakaubusan po ng malunggay dito sa Los Banos, especially sa may highway na wala masyadong halaman. So I would encourage to turn to our indigenous vegetables. Aside from the COVID symptoms, yung nangyayari din po sa atin, our food supply, any pandemic can make us really very insecure, very food insecure, both food and nutrition insecure. Umaasa tayo dun sa mga nasa palengke. And mainly because hindi natin alam yung meron pa lang sa paligid natin. So I would encourage everyone to start learning more about these vegetables, and probably you can also begin, if not really plant, we just take care of the environments na nakita natin. Nakakita kami dito ng bigla na lang may lalabas na amaranth dito sa aming tapat, mga tipong ganun. Uy, may lumabas na lagikway. So, wag natin putulin 'yan kasi pwede siya sa bulang lang. So, mga ganun po. So, let's boost with our indigenous vegetables. Let's boost our immune system, and then I guarantee you na ito po yung pinaka magandang gift na nasa atin. We just have to look again and learn more about it. Kami po are on a learning process pa rin, and hopefully we can share more about it in the future. Thank you, Ma'am Charissa. I hope na po yung point ko. Okay.
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna, for that answer. So our next question is from one of our Facebook viewers, and she is Miss Cheryl Gison from the Iloilo State College of Fisheries. Ma'am, she is asking how can they avail the complete series of brochures?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Kain tayong lahat ng gulay. Very quick lang ang sagot ko. We have a request link. I hope ma-facilitate po ito. We will share with you the request link. But if you go to Ang Gulay Bao Facebook page, sinisikap ko po siyang laging na itataas yung request link na yan. That's e-copies po, ma'am. And then you can print it and share it to whoever else would be interested. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for your interest.
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna, for that question. So as an additional answer to that question, the brochures or pamphlets presented today are available in the PCAARRD e-library. You may download them in that website, and kompleto po silang lahat doon. Thank you. So, ayan po yung ating link na naka-flash sa inyong screen. Ayan. Sige, next question po tayo, Ma'am Lawrence. Ang sunod po nating tanong ay from Mr. Mario B. Torres. Ang tanong po niya ay, saan po kaya makakakuha ng pananim na katutubong gulay?
Yes. Lagi pong ganyan ang katanungan, ano. Nag-check po kami. We have an unfair advantage kasi nagkaroon kami ng contact sa mga communities po. Pwede rin po kayong magtanong doon sa Facebook namin. Hopefully po makita namin our direct message. Then we can share with you kung meron pong malapit sa inyo na may mga ganong halaman. Probably not necessarily binibenta, but baka marami doon. And then we can also help each other preserve this, padamihin natin sila. But we checked, pwede kayo mag-check sa mga online. So I think this is a next step actually, the input supply chain. Saan tayo makakahanap ng mga pantanim, lalo na't hindi po siya commercially available yung mga seeds and many are vegetatively propagated. So check kayo online. Meron kaming eco-farm yata, masagana eco-farm na we're looking at accessing some din for our research. And also, dito sa UPLB, meron po kaming, nauna po sila actually na nag-aral dito sa indigenous vegetables, selection, propagation studies. Right now, they are at the forefront of distributing planting materials. Kaya po, pag meron po kaming planting materials, mga bagong materials na nakukuha, binibigay po namin sa team ni Dr. Rodel Maghirang, but you can also link up with his team sa Binhing Pamana na Facebook page po yan. So pwede po kayong mag-connect sa kanila doon, at least here in UPLB. Sa North, Dr. Menisa Antonio is the key person on propagation of indigenous vegetables. So meron din po siyang networks kung saan kaya pwedeng maka-access nitong planting materials for those who would be interested in it. Thank you, Sir Mario. Taga saan kayo si Sir?
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna. Ayun din po, hindi niya po nilagay yung kanyang ano.
Oo, baka meron sa kapitbahay. Oo, baka meron sa barangay
Oo
nila.
nga, Ma'am. Opo. Ang sunod po nating katanungan, Ma'am Lawrence, ay mula kay Miss Diane Aguilar. Ang tanong po niya ay, sa lahat po ng katutubong gulay na inyong nadokumento, alin po kaya dito ang pinakamasustansya?
Oo, I was fearing this question. Ano po, alin ang pinakamasustansya? Yes po, meron din po tayong tinatawag na power vegetables. Kaya po ang dami na rin produktong lumalabas sa ating malunggay, sa ating ampalaya. Magkakaiba, not exactly the same naman po yung kanilang nutritional contents. Pero tinatawag na rin po silang power vegetables. So si malunggay is really well known all over the world. Hindi ko sinasabing ito silang pinakamasustansya, but mataas po yung mga analysis nila. So wala pong pinaka, but marami silang mataas ang nutritional contents, our amaranths, but magkakaiba-iba din po yung kanilang binibigay sa ating katawan. Ito lang, we should always strive to have diversity in our diets. So hanggat maaari, very good po yung tatargetin natin yung ating mga highly nutritious vegetables. So let's have the ampalaya, saluyot, alugbati, our legumes for protein, no? That's the non-animal source of protein. Yun, magkakaiba po sila ng mga benefits na binibigay sa atin. So we eat more vegetables, especially our indigenous vegetables. We eat different kinds, more of the different kinds. Mimix po natin yan para naman po masaya. So I was even asking Los Banos kung ito bang aming pamphlets for breastfeeding mothers will magkakaroon po kami ng recipe. Sabi ko, puro po babolang lang ang ating i-feature. So hindi pala ganon. Even the ginataan is very good for breastfeeding mothers. So yung nyug po, nagiging parte na rin siya ng ating indigenous vegetables. Pwede siyang nasa bulang lang, pati po yung tubig. Mature coconut usually provides the creamy base for many of our indigenous vegetable dishes. So iba't ibang klase at maraming klase po. But don't forget our green leafies, yellow vegetables.
Thank you, Ma'am Lawrence. Ang sunod po nating katanungan ay mula kay Ginoong Matthew Monzon. Ang tanong po niya, na-identify na po ba lahat ng indigenous vegetables dito sa Pilipinas?
Sir, hindi pa po. Baka po meron kayong maidadagdag. So we only went to 20 provinces and we had these areas, medyo biased po kami sa terrestrial ecosystem. So medyo yung mga nasa inland, mostly upland. So definitely we've not gone to the coastal area or assessed the vegetables na kinakain ng ating mga coastal communities. So, okay, from these areas na pinuntahan namin, hindi ko rin masasabi na document namin lahat. So, just to give you an idea of how it went, may focus group discussions po kami sa community. So, that is actually a way of getting community consensus kasi kung wala kayong time na magawa ng survey, which is also very expensive, yung focus group discussion provides a venue for so much information and validated dahil nandun po yung community members to discuss yung mga inputs po ng isa't isa. So marami po silang kinukwento sa amin, but in terms of identification, there are still in fact napakarami pa po na nasa aming back burner, so to say, nasa back burner kasi po hindi pa po siya ma-identify. So what happens in the focus group discussions is nagkukwento sila. But unfortunately, many times, hindi po kami natitsyempo sa panahon na nandun, makikita mo yung halaman. It's either inaccessible siya or hindi po niya season yung na merong available at malayo yung halaman mismo. We cannot see the live plant and they cannot bring samples din dahil malayo, and if the vegetable parts minsan bumababa kasi kinakain niya ng tao, but then hindi nga niya season. So yun po yung mga challenges of fieldwork. We cannot stay long in one area. Kaya po, chances are, pwede pa po siyang dumoble. And again, hindi po yung gulay sa isang area ay gulay din sa kabilang area. It doesn't follow all the time. But as long as it is a vegetable, treated as a vegetable in one community, we include that in the inventory. Hindi po kailangan na magkakaroon ng agreement across communities. Nililista po namin. And we're taking note of what constitutes a vegetable and what doesn't. So yun, hindi pa po lahat, sir. Napakarami pa po ang kailangan nating alamin. So hopefully, mag-emerge po yung mga additional information from experts in our communities, the local gatekeepers of information. Maraming salamat, sir, and we welcome kung meron ka pong idadagdag sa ating kaalaman.
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna. Sana niliwanagan siya, no? Madami talagang indigenous vegetables dito sa Philippines, and ang alam ko po ay madami pa kayong mga R&D.
Oo, yes, sir.
Susunod,
Oo.
para mas
Regarding
madokumento lahat ng ano.
Oo. Sir, po, just
sige,
rejoinder. Sorry. Hello?
Sige po. Sige, ma'am. Sige po.
Okay. Idadagdag ko lang, isa pang naka-back burner sa amin ay yung marami po kaming mushroom na encounter. So paano ba yan si fungus, yung mushroom, mga mushroom na yan. So challenging po ang pag-identify sa kanila taxonomically din. So yun, kailangan po kasi sure na ito yung tinutumbok natin na halaman. So in terms of S&T intervention, okay, as mentioned by Dr. Ebora in his opening remarks, in his introductory comments, meron tayong ongoing na activity which is nutritional analysis of selected indigenous vegetables kasi marami po talagang wala. So meron tayong ginagawang nutritional analysis for some key vegetables na we thought will be ang information one, if it's available, magiging strategic po siya for furthering the promotion of these species, not only for the sake of promotion. Syempre, we want for all of us to be able to take advantage of this part of our national natural resources, of our natural resources. Sayang po siya na andyan na. It's a gift and we have to learn more about it, take care of it, and make use of it. Tapos, for this project, we are anticipating for the database to go live. So, ma-access po natin information. Hopefully, it will not be a dead database. We hope na it will be a live, a dynamic one na habang may additional tayong information and knowledge, we make it available for everyone, researchers, mga nanay, kids, to tap into and learn more about it. Okay, sa future, there will be mga plano for propagation studies which we hope will be linked with a propagation studies, paano sila bubuhayin, padamihin, but with a value chain perspective sana. Meron tayong pagtingin din sa livelihood component for that. Crisis management and especially in this pandemic for health interventions. And just a rejoinder also on the question of COVID, vegetables alleviating symptoms of COVID. I think this is also a good for researchers na ito, hindi na namin sakop, but I hope some researchers in the audience probably magkakaroon po ng S&T direction towards this. In our team, meron na pong ongoing din naman na efforts on medicinal plants. So in saying that, marami din po kasing medicinal plants na gulay din. And let's make maganda po yung distinction kasi yung medicinal lang talaga, you use them if you get sick. But our vegetables, you eat them regularly and it's either na-alleviate yung kung meron ka mang kondisyon or more importantly, it keeps illness away. No? Kaya nating lumaban, malakas ang ating naturalesa, sinasabi. So, I think, have I addressed the question on S&T directions, Sir JN? Or meron pa ba akong na-miss kaya? And then I would like also to thank yung hindi naman kami original at nauuna sa mga ganitong gawain. So we actually follow in the footsteps of those who have gone before us. Marami tayong nakikita mga efforts before. And we are collaborating with them. Opo.
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna, for that. Sobrang dami niyo pong sinabi na impormasyon. At for sure, aabangan yan ng ating mga manonood at tagapakinig ngayong hapon. Ang sunod po nating katanungan ay mula kay isa sa mga Facebook viewer po natin, kay Ginoong Arven Pinuela from Iloilo. Ang tanong po niya, Ma'am Lawrence, are indigenous vegetables always organic?
Ayan, thank you Sir Arvin for that question. Akala ko kasi wala na, tapos na tayo. Anyway, so si Sir Arvin, maganda po yung katanungan niyo, Sir, kasi these indigenous vegetables, as sinabi ko na, have the advantage of being adapted. Hindi na po siya kailangan ng maraming pangungulit para siya ay gumanda or tumubo man dun sa area na yan na naturally growing na siya. But are they always organic? So ano ba ang organic? So si organic, dapat wala siyang chemical inputs. Ang strict natin na siguro definition sa aking pagkakaalam ay grown from organic seed. So if it's farm-saved seed, so hindi po siya, it's organic if ang pinanggalingan niyang halaman ay hindi nakatanggap ng chemical, external inputs. So organic siya. Pero I would like to say na it's not assured na organic lagi. Nagkataon lang na marami sa ating mga katutubong gulay ay hindi nga kasi pinapansin, di ba? Nasa malalayong lugar. But actually, they don't need the external inputs na yan because they have evolved to really perform optimally dun sa area na yan. After so many, matagal na panahon po yan. Pero, interestingly, si Sir Arvin ay taga Iloilo. When we went to Western Visayas, so we went to, sorry, I mentioned kanina, limited lang ano. For each province, namili kami ng towns, at dalawang town at dalawang barangay din. So there was this, in Capiz naman, malapit sa Iloilo, so I do not know if nangyayari ito sa Iloilo. Marami po siyang indigenous vegetables, si Lola. Kaya lang napansin ko po, sa gilid ng palayan niya. Dahil may palayan po, so meron siyang fertilizers. So nakikita ko po sa tabi ng kanyang alugbati, pati po tanglad, meron po akong nakikitang mga parang ano po, complete fertilizer katabi ng kanyang mga indigenous vegetables. So hindi po siya assured, pero mataas po ang ating chance na. And okay, going into organic, meron po kasi siyang, kaya po tayo nagsicertify ng organic products because it's providing information. It's a signaling sa economics po. Signaling po siya na mechanism to tell the consumer that this is the quality of your product. Kaya po may certification yung organic. Kasi hindi mo siya nakikita agad kung organic ba siya o hindi. For our indigenous vegetables, dahil po nasa paligid natin, kung ikaw nakakain or ikaw yung consumer at dun ka lang sa area nyo, so you would have some confidence kasi kung ano siya, yung quality niya, kasi alam mo ang kalakaran doon sa area ninyo. So that's parang yung mga closed market chains na they talk to each other, alam mo yung ginagawa ng supplier mo. So that's an assurance for you, that is a guarantee, no, ng quality niya, kung organic pa siya o hindi. Pero pag humahaba na po yung ating market chain, medyo kailangan natin ng ganong assurance. So, for example, in Los Banos, the local government organized women, also with the support from PCAARRD also, women growers of organic vegetables. Kasi po conventional vegetables din po yung iba nilang gino-grow. So, they really have to distinguish. They did not go to the extent of certifying their vegetables na organic, but there is this Friday market, periodic markets doon sa munisipyo, and in a way, ginagawa din sa ibang mga munisipyo dito sa Laguna. It's a guarantee na from the local government na we are putting up this and these vegetables, and it's under the concept of organic agriculture. So hindi po siya official certification, but it's a guarantee. Kaya po may mga ganyang klaseng organization. I hope I am making, I'm communicating to Sir Arvin kung nasagot ko ba yung kanyang question. So, yes and no po ang sagot. If you say always, sorry, if you say always, then definitely the answer would be a no.
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna. Our next question po ay from another Facebook viewer. And the question is from Miss Marie Adelantar. Ang question po niya is, Alternanthera sessilis considered an indigenous vegetable? This is commonly known in Panay as lupo.
Yes, Ma'am Marie, thank you for the question. Meron tayong isang issue ng, I think, number 19 on amaranths. Kasama po ang lupo. At I think it's an emerging vegetable ngayon. It's getting attention because of its supposed health-giving benefits. And I think that's magiging direction po yata yan ng indigenous vegetable SNT ngayon, yung health-giving benefits niya, aside from the nutrition na naibibigay niya sa atin. Thank you very much. I hope kumakain pa kayo ng lupo, and I hope hindi po nagsispray yung mga malapit sa lupo growing areas. Tumutubo po siya after rice, for example, sa mga rice fields. But the violet or the purple one is more cultivated. Mas nag-volunteer po yung green na variant, I think. Thank you, Miss Marie.
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna. Kasi napansin ko yung comment niya, sabi niya, panotice naman Sir JL nung tanong ko sa Facebook. Kaya tinanong ko na po kaagad sa inyo. Ang sunod po nating tanong ay from Mr. Gregorio Osorio. Ang tanong po niya ay, what makes a vegetable indigenous?
Ayun, sige po. Para po marami na tayong may alam, share natin sa ating mga kakilala. So, since I joined the PGR team, napapansin niyo siguro yung akin economics, aking background, ganun. Nag-umpisa pa sa engineering. But then, eto po yun. Technically, ang indigenous vegetable, share ko rin sa inyo yung mga natutunan ko. So, ang indigenous, pagiging indigenous, siya po ay una, pwedeng originally or nag-originate siya doon sa area na yon, or naturally growing. Okay, so hindi naman or, but if it's originally growing there, so naturally growing siya. Meron kasing naturally growing na hindi po siya nag-originate sa area na yan. Pag matagal na po masyado, and it has evolved, the crop has evolved and developed its distinctive qualities, no? Yung mga kakaibang mga ano niya na sa Pilipinas may ganun, sa ibang bansa meron din, pero sa Pilipinas ganito. Sa Luzon meron, pero sa Mindanao, iba din ang itsura. So, pag nag-develop siya ng distinctive traits niya doon sa isang area, it indigenized na po ang tawag natin sa kanya. After so many years, a very long time. So, both po, yung originally from that area, tsaka yung na-indigenize, and they grow naturally in that area, yun po sila ang indigenous, ating mga halaman na indigenous.
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna. Okay, last question na po tayo. So, ang last question po natin ay mula kay Miss Rhea Nicole Ramos. Ang tanong po niya, ito po ba ang unang pagkakataon na nadokumento ang mga katutubong gulay dito sa Pilipinas?
Okay. Ma'am Rhea, sa aming pagkakaalam, hindi po ito pinakaunang pagkakataon. Marami na pong gumawa. I showed earlier a catalog of indigenous vegetables in Ilocos. We came across a publication on indigenous vegetables of Abra, and there is a study in Mindoro. And Batanes, we were privy to their report on indigenous vegetables in Batanes, kasi nga pinapakonfirm din nila ang tawag dito, identity ng mga halaman na indigenous sa Batanes, kasi mga local names lang. And these are only a few, there are a lot. But probably, medyo mataas po ang ano namin na this is the first time na nationwide po ang ginawa na assessment. And not only the inventory, but also the putting together of this literature, of all these documents related to these other studies, para po medyo ito'y na ano yun, parang one-stop shop, hopefully. So, hindi pa po siya perfect, but hopefully, it will be the start of a repository of this information and knowledge, both coming from communities and also from our researchers, our students na nag-aral nito. And I would like to make mention na isa po talaga sa nag-push nitong push siguro kasi he encouraged us a lot, si Secretary de la Peña mismo ng Department of Science and Technology. Pumunta kasi siya ng Asian Vegetable Research, AVRDC, Asian Vegetable Research and Development Center sa Taiwan. So that is the International Center for Research on Vegetables. Then he saw this array and the studies on indigenous vegetables. So sabi niya, bakit wala tayong ganito? So he really pushed for this. So eto po, naging nationwide and with the budget limitation. So nag-strategize tayo kung paano mamimili ng mga areas based on previous knowledge din ng ating mga experts na kasama dito sa team and also from literature kung saan most probably mataas ang chance na makakakalap tayo nitong information. And then slowly from here, we build on that body of knowledge slowly. And hopefully din, everyone will be willing to share information. Mahirap din kasing magplano and to promote kung wala po tayong anong tawag dito, access to information. Ngayon nagkalat nga po, hindi alam kung saan po sila, and most of the time sinasabing very limited. So yun, this probably is the first time na nationwide po ang ginawa na assessment and including all the other efforts. So, I stand corrected kung meron palang ibang effort. So, as far as our intelligence, the knowledge that the information that we have is concerned, yun po yung pagkakaalam namin na this is the first time na wide po ang scope geographically. Thank you, Ma'am Rhea.
Thank you, Ma'am Lorna, for answering all of the questions from our viewers and of course dun sa mga media partners natin. Thank you again, everyone, for your questions. Sa mga hindi po nasagot na katanungan, we will try our best to answer them directly in the comment section. Before we move on to the next part of this activity, Ma'am Lorna, nandyan pa po ba kayo? Do you
Nandito
have
pa
anything
po.
else you want to say to our viewers or to our media partners?
Siguro ano na lang, maraming salamat po sa oras na binigay nyo this afternoon. I hope naging sulit naman yung time na in-spend nyo dito, and I hope we have ignited that interest and hopefully towards passion in rediscovering and using our indigenous vegetables. Siguro appeal natin sa ating media partners, if you have this opportunity to highlight our indigenous vegetables, tanong-tanong lang naman sa mga local people. Usually, hindi natin nakikita, and then if we ask around, biglang, marami palang hindi natin nakikita as indigenous vegetables. So, yun, if you have that opportunity to promote, we would be hindi po kami lang, but I think it's an appeal from the Filipino people na this is knowledge that will help us build a strong nation, di ba? Pag may sakit, mga sakitin po ang ating mga citizens, medyo malaki po ang problemang haharapin ng ating bansa. So, first step is build a healthy nation, physically healthy nation, and then we can really make big steps in terms of development from there. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope I made it worth your while here. Yun na lang siguro. So, let's make it more fun in the Philippines kasi marami po tayong gulay pa na kailangan i-rediscover. Thank you very much, Sir JN.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lorna, sister of the ICropS, or Institute of Crop Science, College of Agriculture and Food Science of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. To all our viewers, I hope our speaker was able to quench your thirst or hunger for knowledge about the current R&D initiatives on indigenous vegetables. To give us a synthesis of today's virtual presser, I would like to call on the head of the Information, Education, and Communication subsection of the Crops Research Division and the assistant head of the Monitoring and Evaluation section of the Crops Research Division, Ms. Shari Alfaiha A. Lubang. Take it away, Ate Shari.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, JN. We just heard interesting discussion on indigenous vegetables, and truly, the Philippines is considered a wonder for its high diversity of plants. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. It is also rich in indigenous vegetables that are waiting to be rediscovered. So now let me just give you a summary of what was presented by our research speaker, Dr. Lorna, sister of UPLB. So, the project titled Documentation of Indigenous Vegetables of the Philippines is a completed project spearheaded by our very own Secretary, Fortunato T. de la Peña, that seeks to document and promote the indigenous vegetables of the Philippines. So, it is implemented by the Institute of Crop Science, College of Agriculture and Food Science, UPLB, with funding support from the OSTP card. So, why indigenous vegetables? Indigenous vegetables are generally underutilized and under-researched. This has been mentioned as well by Dr. Lorna in her presentation. So, their potentials are source of micronutrients, nutraceuticals like antioxidants, natural fiber, and more are largely untapped. Okay, so what are the project's main activities? So the project has four main activities. This include documentation of interspecific and intraspecific diversity, utilization, maintenance, and seed supply of indigenous vegetables in 20 provinces in the country. So they went all over the country to document and collect samples of indigenous vegetables. They also collected print and electronic materials from institutions, individual researchers, authors, and websites. They also develop and deploy deployment of a database on indigenous vegetables, and lastly, production of information and education campaign materials. So through this project activities, the team was able to produce the following outputs. Okay, so they had an inventory of Philippine indigenous vegetables, including basic information on occurrence, habitat, production, preparation, and other uses. They had a focus group discussions, in the communities, and then they also produced a compendium of available literature on Philippine indigenous vegetables. They were able to abstract 300 materials and a database of 145 collected species for easy access of the general public. They also had a database management system for primary information from the communities and the literature collected. And lastly, of course, in IEC, they had feature articles. They also guested in various radio and TV programs. They produced 20 pamphlets, 10 of which were launched today. Facebook page, as mentioned by Dr. Lorna, at Angulay Bao. So you can check that out later. Some videos and a book compilation on Philippine indigenous vegetables. But how many Philippine indigenous vegetables are there? Based on their collection, they were able to collect 143 plant species belonging to 50 families as indigenous vegetables. So talagang napakadami po nating indigenous vegetables. And it was also noted that most of these indigenous vegetables, are in Ilocos region. Okay. So next slide, please. So you would see in here in this presentation, this slide, the 10 pamphlets on indigenous vegetables that were launched previously, in 2019 to 2020. So these are himbabao, talbos ng kamoting kahoy, gabi, bawang gulay, lason na gulay, lagikway, lubi-lubi, ampalaya, pako, and talinong. So ayan po, those were previously launched. Ano po? Now for this virtual presser, 10 more indigenous vegetables were launched, 10 pamphlets on indigenous vegetables. So these include, okay, langka, kambansi, rimas, marang, chipuho, ubod at puso ng saging, labong, alugbati, bulaklak ng malunggay, katuray, kalabasa, kapas-kapas, and kakawate. And then tapilan, weedy vegetables, amaranths, and vegetables for nursing mothers. Ayan. So, yan po ang ating mga ang 10 na pamphlets po na were launched this afternoon. Okay, for the Q&A, so we received a lot of questions. So let me just enumerate some of them during the open forum. So there was a question on the advantages of indigenous vegetables. It was emphasized by Dr. Lorna that these vegetables are low cost and adaptable to our environment, so you can easily actually propagate them. They're also readily available source of vitamins, micronutrients, antioxidants, and fiber, among many other benefits. So there was also a question on the value of conserving the indigenous vegetables in the Philippines, and it was highlighted that indigenous vegetables offer other benefits as, for example, feed for livestock, medicinal properties, and industrial uses. There was also a question on if there's any indigenous vegetables that can lessen COVID symptoms or be used against COVID. So this is a very timely question. And Dr. Lorna cited vegetables are important in boosting our immune system, and one of which is the malunggay. So ayan po yung isang binanggit po ni Ma'am Lorna. And she also encouraged everyone to learn more about the indigenous vegetables, to plant them and consume them as additional food and nutrition source, since tayo po ay food during this pandemic, we may some of us may experience yung food insecurity and nutrition insecurity. So yun. And there was also, this is a question na talagang marami ulit-ulit on where they can access the publications that we have launched this afternoon. So the pamphlets are available at our e-library. So interested viewers can download them for free. It is also available at the Facebook page developed by the project team. Yun pong binanggit natin, ang Gulay Bao. Okay? Sa ating pong e-library, just log in, create an account first, sign up, and then log in, and then you may download na po all these materials for free. Hatid po sa atin yan ng project team from UPLB and of course, DOST PCAARRD and DOST. So, JN, that ends my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ate Shari. Reminders po ulit, pakisagutan po ang ating CSF para po makatanggap kayo ng Electronic Certificate of Participation o katibayan na kayo po ay dumalo sa ating virtual presser ngayon. Maaari po kayo mag-follow up sa email address na naka-flash sa inyong screen kung hindi po kayo makatanggap o nakatanggap ng e-certificate. To formally close our virtual presser, we have this afternoon Dr. Alan B. Shano, the officer in charge in the Crops Research Division of DOST PCAARRD. Doc Alan?
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to express my gratitude to all of you for your participation in the successful conduct of this virtual presser. Indeed, we have learned and discovered a lot from our featured indigenous vegetables or katutubong gulay. I believe that there are still more indigenous vegetables out there waiting to be rediscovered. I would also like to thank our research person, Dr. Lorna E.'s sister, and her entire team from the Institute of Crop Science or ICropS of the College of Agriculture and Food Science, University of the Philippines Los Banos or UPLB, for sharing their knowledge and expertise with us today. I believe that their participation in this activity leads to a larger interest in our indigenous vegetables. I'd like to thank the team for documenting the indigenous vegetables in our country and promoting them one vegetable at a time in this online event and many other platforms. As Dr. Ray Ipora mentioned earlier, we highlight the word rediscover to emphasize that these vegetables can be commonly found around us, waiting to be given attention. It is therefore important for us Filipinos to take pride and appreciate our katutubong gulay. The DOST PCAARRD has partnered yet again with the research team of ICropS UPLB in our pursuit of more R&D on indigenous vegetables. This time, the team will be focusing on nutritional analysis of the indigenous vegetables in collaboration with the Food and Nutrition Research Institute of the DOST. We are definitely looking forward to the results of this ongoing project and to the many research possibilities and options concerning our indigenous vegetables. It is important that we help promote the uses and benefits of these vegetables, most especially in this time of pandemic, wherein access to nutritious food is very essential. After this presser, hopefully we can more easily spot one or two of these vegetables in our community. Before I close this program, let me underscore some insights that I would want to share with you. In our discussion, we are reminded to do 4 P's. These are participate, promote, plant, and preserve. First, we must participate in building community or backyard gardens as a local and alternative food source and livelihood opportunity. Second, we must be able to promote the importance of indigenous vegetables, especially the nutritional value we can get from them. Third, we encourage everyone to plant these indigenous vegetables and incorporate them as an option in our food basket. And lastly, we should be able to help preserve these indigenous vegetables not just as part of our culture and tradition, but as an important agricultural resource. As this virtual presser reaches its end, we are inviting you to visit our DOSTP-CAARRD Facebook page for the schedule of online webinars and activities happening this November as part of our DOSTP-CAARRD anniversary celebration. It will be filled with online activities which you can also take part in. We will be featuring many of our ongoing and completed programs and projects which will benefit the agriculture, aquatic, and natural resources sector. Once again, thank you for taking part in our virtual presser. I hope that you found the discussion interesting, fruitful, and engaging. May this activity bring you a renewed interest in our indigenous vegetables. Stay safe and healthy, everyone.
Thank you, Doc Alan. To all our attendees, we would like to invite you again to visit our PCAARRD e-library to download the indigenous vegetable pamphlets in pamphlets. So as it is shown, the link is shown in the screen. As of now, nakaka-experience po kami ng mga glitch sa sobrang dami po ng nagkakasabay-sabay na pumapasok sa ating CSF link. Mamaya pwede nyo pong itry ulit yung pagpasok ninyo para makapagsagot po kayo ng CSF form at makatanggap ng e-certificate sa pag-attend nyo o pagdalo nyo ngayon sa virtual presser natin ngayon. You may also visit the Facebook page titled Ang Gulay Bao to view the documented videos of our project team about their project activities. Muli, maraming salamat po sa lahat ng nagsipagdalo. Ating tandaan na ang siyensya ay hindi lamang para sa mga siyentista, ito ay para rin sa ating mga magsasaka.